Now to the latest fallout from the Jeffrey Epstein files. Some members of Congress have now seen unredacted material that was not released to the public, and they say it involves some prominent names. Meanwhile, Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell repeatedly pleaded the Fifth in video testimony to Congress on Monday. The lawyer said she would answer questions and prove President Trump and former President Bill Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing, but only if President Trump grants her clemency.
There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus, and he'll give you a second chance till you can't.
En el perreo no se quita, un se pone bella, me llama si me necesita, pero por ahora está solita y ya perrea.
We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where.
The Middle East is on edge, waiting and watching for Donald Trump's next move. Will he reach a deal to avoid war with Iran, or are U.S. airstrikes and regime change just around the corner?
You know what I'm sensing now? And I'm going to share this very quickly. The prophet Elisha changed the economy in one day, 24 hours.
Hello and welcome to Analysis. We are coming at you this week out of an intense news cycle. And so we've asked Doobie Sabo to join us this week. He's in town, and so we took advantage of the moment. And so Doobie is with us, and Christy Desfontaine, of course. Welcome, Doobie. Thank you so much for joining us. Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you, as always, for being here. So we've got we've got the Super Bowl, we've got the Epstein files, we've got Nancy Guthrie's very strange kidnapping disappearance situation amidst much tension in the Middle East. Benjamin Netanyahu today meeting with President Trump about Iran. And so we've got a lot going on and a lot of prophecy to cover. So, Christy, tell us what's going on in the news a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I just want to start off by saying that these are very different stories, but they're all pointing to the same thing, which is a nation and a world that feels unsettled, confused and searching for direction. And so today, what we're trying to do is bring clarity to what people are seeing. And obviously we've got Doobie with us, which is so wonderful. One of my favorite people in the whole world, but we're going to start off with this. Let's begin with what is happening right now in the Middle East, because these are not distant headlines. These developments are affecting global markets, shipping, energy prices, and stability for nations around the world. This week, the United States issued new maritime guidance for commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz because tensions with Iran remain high and unresolved. From Reuters, the U.S. issues fresh guidance to vessels transiting Strait of Hormuz as Iran tensions simmer. The U.S. Maritime Administration is advising American flagged ships to stay as far away from Iranian waters as possible and to verbally decline any boarding attempts by Iranian forces rather than resist, a clear indication of how serious the situation is becoming in this region. Now, why does this matter? Because nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow checkpoint every single day. Oil markets are still pricing in geopolitical risk from the Middle East, not just because of actual disruption, but because investors hate uncertainty. Even advisory warnings about tanker safety near Iran moved crude higher yesterday. When the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for nearly 20% of global oil flow, is part of a tension narrative that's going to affect gasoline and diesel prices, inflation, and economic confidence worldwide. But here's the flip side. When tensions ease, markets relax, prices tend to come down, and we see the support in growth. We've seen that before when ceasefire reduced the risk premium built into energy pricing. And analysts say if Iran's leadership and economic policy shifted towards openness or changed completely, lowering sanctions and barriers, that could unlock significant new energy trade, improve market output regionally, and reduce some of the volatility we see across the markets today. At the same time, rhetoric between Washington and Tehran has increased, and naval positioning in the region continues to escalate. From Al Jazeera, we see an update that the U.S. and Iran Ramp up rhetoric as carrier Lincoln forms in the Middle East. These are the kinds of headlines that affect shipping costs, energy prices, and economic stability across the globe. Now, we're going to talk for a moment, then this is something we're going to go to a moment with Kim that was really powerful from 2015 where Doobie was actually there with him. But when the world feels unstable economically and geopolitically, that's when we go to scripture for perspective. In 2 Kings chapter 7, Israel was surrounded by enemies. Their economy had collapsed, food was unaffordable, people were desperate. And the prophet Elisha stepped forward and said something that sounded impossible. Tomorrow, about this time, everything changes. One man mocked him and even said, even if the heavens opened, this could never happen. And Elisha answered him by saying, you will see it, but you will never touch it. And so in March of 2015, Kim Clement stood on a mountain in Israel and referenced this exact story. And then he said something that at the time sounded just as impossible. And like I said, Doobie was right there with him. So we're going to go right now and take you to this incredible moment with Kim from March 19th of 2015 from the land of Israel. Let's go to that clip of Kim now.
You know what I'm sensing now? And I'm going to share this very quickly. The prophet Elisha changed the economy in one day, 24 hours. They were surrounded. They were behind the walls. The economy was so bad that they were purchasing a donkey's head for a huge amount of money, pigeon droppings and whatever else there was. A woman tried to kill boil son and eat it. And it was in a terrible state. And the prophet Elisha comes and he says, tomorrow about this time, things are going to change. Within 24 hours, it changed, but not one person believed it. And you know, I noticed that when a prophet speaks and people don't believe and there's no faith, it usually doesn't happen unless he can find a remnant of people that actually believe it. And so the king, the vice president or whatever he was standing there and he said to Elisha, he said, This would never happen even if the heavens were opened up. Yes. And Elisha looked at him, and I want you to take note of what he said. He said, you shall see it, but you shall not taste of it, and you shall not touch it. And there are many people that reject the promises of God, and they say, we don't believe it'll ever happen. When it does happen, they see it, but they never touch it. They never enter that promise. And so as I'm standing here, I hear the word one day. Again, do you realize that this nation was brought back together in one day? Yes. Actually in 1 minute, 1 hour, yes, really. Yes. But you think about it, and it was from here I got the prophecy about the resources, and I'm hearing once again that within a day, God can change the economy. Now, how can that possibly be? Well, if the prophet Elisha said, I can say it from this very mountain, and even with the sound of Islamic worship and stuff, I can say that even here, God is going to do the same thing. It's doing well. I mean, Israel's doing great, but there's going to be a
they're going to be doing really great because those countries that come against Israel are coming to take a plunder from Israel. So these things that are happening with the oil and the things in the sea, you can see what's going to happen. There are discoveries that are going to be made for these countries to come against them to steal from them or to take from them. It's got to be.
But what I'm saying is what I said then again, and I want you to perhaps read it to me. And that was that they would literally supply other nations. And they'd say, how can it be possible from this small piece of land that we are needing them and they are helping us?
And what he said there was within a day, God can change the economy. They will supply other nations. He said this from Israel long before many of the energy discoveries, long before the world began depending on Israeli water technology, long before the geopolitical shifts we're watching now. And he gave a warning. Some people will see it, but never touch it. Now, faith is what allows you to step into what God is doing and not just to observe it. When Elisha spoke, there had to be a remnant who believed. When Kim spoke from Israel, he was calling for the same thing, people who would believe what God is doing before everyone else sees it. And so I'm encouraging you today. I know it's a little early on and I'm about to go, we're about to give this to Doobie and Donné, but I'm encouraging you right now as you stand and we see uncertainty everywhere to hold on to the words that Kim said, echoing the words of Elisha the prophet. Tomorrow about this time, things are going to change. Some of you need change. Some of you need incredible change. Some of you need miracles that are beyond explanation. Some of you need God to touch you in ways that are completely impossible for a human being to intervene. I'm encouraging you to sow with faith right now into this moment. There's a red link below your player. You can click that to give. There's a number that you can text. There's so many different ways that you can give your offering, but I'm encouraging you to do this and to give and say, I believe. I will not just see it, I will touch it. As we hold on to the words that Kim gave from that mountain in Israel in March of 2015, and we hold on to the words that Elisha the prophet said in 2 Kings chapter 7, we're believing together in our lives as a unit that tomorrow about this time, things are going to change. So I'm encouraging you, give, sow, do a $5 in your face offering if that's what you feel that you're able to do. Whatever it is, as we give, we do it in faith, in expectance of what God can do, just like he did in the days of old. And so that's what I have to say about that for right now. But as we continue this program, we're not just talking about headlines or history. We're talking about what this looks like right now from the ground in Israel. And so, Donna, I want to bring this back to you because we do have somebody here who is actually seeing this unfold in real time.
Absolutely. And so again, welcome, Doobie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you in the studio. It really makes a difference. And, you know, it truly, you know, as you were saying about the remnant, it takes a remnant, only a remnant to believe, but you have to have that. And so that's why prophecy is so important. And I think especially here in America right now, there's so much information coming at everybody all the time that it actually makes it more difficult to see the truth. You would think having an overload of information and access to anything at the tip of your fingers, but people are still being led into deception. And so I think this is a part of the reason why God showed my dad the warriors of the new millennium, who God would send to take down the beast of the East.
Yeah.
And he showed my father that in 1993, I was 13 years old. I saw him get into an accident, break his wrists. And as he was recovering from that in the hospital, he had a series of visions. And part of that was seeing the warriors of the new millennium, the people that God would use, a remnant of people that don't fit the mold of what you would expect from a Christian. He saw piercings and tattoos and rough people that weren't in religious robes or functioning that way traditionally. And so it makes you understand that God is pushing us outside of our realms of comfort in so many different ways. And so we're looking at these headlines, and I know right now Bibi Netanyahu is meeting with President Trump to discuss Iran, and we're anticipating the results of that, which by the time everyone here is watching this, we probably would have heard something. But my dad was there in Israel in 2014. Now, you were there with him every time he was in Israel. So anytime you guys see footage of my dad in Israel, promise you Doobie's there, whether he's on camera or not, he's there with my dad. And so, you know, it's very good for us to have you here for that perspective as well.
Thank you.
Your presence.
Thank you.
But again, we're looking at the focus on Iran, tensions, shifting alliances across the Middle East. I'm very interested to hear your perspective on that.